Hi, Cosmic Witches. Welcome back to another episode of the Divine Gossip Girls. I'm your host, Maggie, along with Sophie and Carly. And today we just want to talk about reflection and growing as people, and how sometimes you think you have grown so much, and you probably have, but then another year goes by and you look back and you go, wow, I was just a baby. I've grown so much, I've changed so much, I've come so much more into my own. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm healed, I'm confident, I'm all that, and then you get to it a year later and you go, oh my gosh, I am so much more confident in myself than I have ever been. And we've really had this moment recently because we just actually, yesterday upon recording this, had our opening call for our signature program, signature mini little challenge, Aura Elevation. And we love doing the welcome calls and seeing the energy of the group each and every time. This is our third round. We do it twice a year. So it was a great time for us to reflect back on who we are as people, healers, and leaders, headed into our third round a whole year after our very first one. And not only has the group grown, not only has the impact of Aura Elevation grown, but we've grown as well. And we really just wanted to reflect on our own growth with you guys today and just kind of chat about how much we see growth in ourselves and each other personally, but also how important it is to reflect and realize how far you come when sometimes you think you're really stuck, or you feel really low, or you feel like an imposter or shameful in any way. And then you really can reflect and realize I am so much further than I was, even if I'm not exactly where you may think you were going to be. You may think you're going to be somewhere in a year and you may end up somewhere totally different, but we just kind of wanted to chat about our experiences with that and reflect along with you guys. We started talking about it yesterday and then we were like, we need to stop this and just sit down and record it. So here we are in live time reflecting on ourselves, our growth, and we're really encouraging you to do the same. Let's just jump into the episode. Hey Cosmic Witches! Divine Gossip Girls here, your one and only source into the spiritual happenings of the cosmos.
Ever wonder what this month's energy will have in store for you? What the planets and stars are even up to? Or if the universe can just help you catch a break already?
Well, lucky you, because we have all the spiritual secrets to tell. Get ready to sip on your weekly dose of divine tea.
Okay, so let's just dive in. So obviously, like Maggie just introduced, we just kicked off the third round of Aura Elevation. And if we were to take it back a year ago when we done our very first launch, so we run this challenge twice a year, once in January and then once in August time for kind of summer edition. And this is our second January running it. And last year when we ran that was off the back, like December 2022 is when I had like a major breakdown, like that tower moment, everything kind of crumbling. And Aura Elevation was the kind of step that started to rebuild the kind of leader and healer and that next level version of myself was kind of stemmed from the first round of Aura Elevation. So it was so special for me coming off or just witnessing that welcome call yesterday. I actually watched back it earlier on when I was having a little moment. I was like, let's watch back on Aura Elevation welcome call and just witness how fucking powerful and magical we really are. And I was watching it and like Maggie said, like we've grown so much individually as people, but also as healers, also as leaders. And even if it doesn't seem like that on the outside, you feel it. Like I feel it so, so deeply, the energy within me, the shift within me, because I remember last year, like not feeling fully confident in myself, not feeling fully worthy. And there would be imposter syndrome there, holding that space because the first round of Aura Elevation, it did pop off. Like, yes, we've grown the impact and the numbers and the community in that space, but even the first round blew our minds of how many people jumped into that space. And I know that was that kind of shift in the universe pushing us into this next level version of ourselves and of the leaders and healers within us. And it's just so special each round that we've done to just witness the magic that we just intuitively pour into that space and just naturally begin to expand on.
And like my kind of reflection here, like that's a little different. You know, Sophie's been going from low to like a lot more confident in herself, and I'm very confident in myself. I think I show up in a group now. I think I show up as a leader in a very confident way. Like I feel really in touch with my knowledge. I never would have, I don't think, done a group past life regression the first time, and now I'm holding that this time, and I just feel a lot more secure in what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, and that it's going to resonate and that everything's going to go well. But I'm definitely having a much lower just time in my life this month. I've been pretty open on this podcast about it, but also like on my podcast and just in my community as well, that I'm not having like the best mental health time right now. And coming into this round of Aura Elevation, I was really, I think, a little bit worried that if my vibe wasn't perfect and I wasn't like, I'm this amazing person who's like having her energy go like crazy, like high energy, even though I would never expect that from anyone. Like if either of you were having a hard time, you were literally having a hard time last year, Sophie, and I wasn't like, oh my gosh, your energy, like it's not it. But like we're so much harder on ourselves, right? So I think I was a little bit worried that if I was in a hard time, it would show through my leadership. But I, went and I did the welcome call and I felt so good after, and it felt really amazing. But it was really a grounding moment to be like, even if you're not in the highest vibe energy ever, doesn't mean that you're not a powerful enough leader to hold that space for other people to feel high vibe. Doesn't mean that you can't give the messages to feel super high vibe. And also, maybe this is exactly what I need as well. Like you are a leader because you teach what has helped you. And I can now just return to the things that have helped me so much and spark my own energy, come back to myself a little bit. So I need it just as much as everyone in the program. I'm just, lucky enough and established enough and confident enough in myself. And I've worked hard enough to be able to not just take part in this space, but lead this space and create this space as well. So I'm really excited for this year and to reflect continuing moving forwards on each kind of energy that my life is in as we go through this. I've done one very grounded in myself and my business. That was the first round. I've done one literally chaotically traveling, living in different countries and moving. I literally was in Italy and then I moved back place in Copenhagen during Aura Elevation, and I still like held myself through and like held my leadership and was able to hold space for everyone through literally moving countries. And then this time it's like, okay, even when I don't feel super high vibe, that doesn't mean I can't hold space and I can't do what I know that I'm good at doing. And I think that's been a really powerful realization for me.
I love that. And do you know something I want to say off the back of that as well is, yes, it's important to like, we are the leaders, we are the kind of space holders within that, but it's something that we always visualize and we also feel into with the space and the community that we attract. It's as if like, even though we're the leaders in that space, I feel like it's just a group of soul sisters as well. Like the community holds itself as well. Like we, want to lead ourselves through the work as well. It's like we need it too. Like we want to be a part of it. We want to join in that magic as well. But also the space that the people that we attract, the souls that we attract it's as if we're just showing up with these group of like soul sisters, that it doesn't feel as if like we are these big like leaders in this field. It's like we are these goddesses that are holding the space with other goddesses, and like we're just coming together.
Really quick, I realized what my point was to what I was talking about that I didn't actually say because I was just oversharing, but that's what this space is for, right? But it's, especially if anyone's listening and can relate to this, like the reason I wanted to share how I was feeling was because sometimes things in our life can go downhill and it can make us feel a bit lower and feel a bit harder. And so I could look at myself and say, oh my gosh, I am in a way worse place than I was last year because of certain situations in my life and because of how I'm mentally feeling. But I've actually grown. Like I've grown as a leader. I've grown in my business. I've grown in my confidence and in my groundedness in myself and my message and my abilities. And that is just as important as growing in other ways. Like just because you feel low, just because you're having a hard time, just because you're maybe a little less happy than you were a year ago, that doesn't mean you're not growing. That doesn't mean that you're getting worse. It just means that one part of your life is falling a little behind right now and you just need to hold space for it. But it doesn't mean that you're going backwards, and time is a construct anyways.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, I definitely can relate to that feeling of just like sometimes, yeah, you're like in a different energetic state or like certain things are going on. But I think it's really important to not make that mean anything about you or mean that there's a lack of something within you or that you're going backwards. It's just simply that you're, in a state in your life where certain things may feel heavier, but it doesn't mean that you're any less worthy or capable of being a leader, showing up for the things you love. And I think for me, reflecting is something that I love so much, but I don't think any of us do it enough. Like we don't take significant times to just pause and be like, holy shit, I have come so far. I have grown so much. And I appreciate us doing this podcast episode because I feel like it's allowing us all to take a moment to pause. And I think after like the launch of a program or something very expansive, it can feel so fast and so rushed. It's like, all right, the launch happened. Now it's like moving on to the next thing. But when we take more time to pause and like celebrate ourselves, life just feels more magical. And it also feels more, I don't know, you're able to see how the puzzle pieces have all been fitting together. And reflecting back from that first round, I remember feeling so scared. It was the first time that I had done anything in a group. I'd never done anything past like one-on-one coaching. And that was like before I even was tapping more into like Reiki and stuff. I think I just kind of started to come out about being a spiritual practitioner, or not even. It wasn't even until this past summer that I was really like accepting my little psychic abilities. But
I'm like, you're psychic, Carly. I was like, you are so psychic. Come on.
Yeah, but at that time I was like very, in the dark about it. And so that first round for me was about allowing myself to be a leader. And I really let go of that comparison to Maggie and Sophie because I'm much younger than them. And I'm like, oh my God, like who am I to be here sitting amongst these badass bitches? And I was like, wait, no, we all are badass bitches, including everyone that enrolls in the program. Like that's what I always think. It's like we're not above anyone at all. Just because we're running this space doesn't mean that we're above anyone. It just means that we're in there kind of conducting the group, but we are on the same level as everyone in there. We are doing the work. We are showing up. We are we're rising together. And that's what I see it as, is like I can show up in the spaces I create in any energy and I put my best foot forward, but it's okay if I'm not feeling my best because I know this group is going to uplift my energy. And that's exactly why we've created the spaces. We've created the spaces that we need. So yeah, now moving forward into this round, I think last round, it was my first time. Well, no, I think it was my first time running a Reiki circle. I think there was like 20 people in the Reiki call. And I remember coming off and I was like, buzzing with energy. Actually, I just want to throw this in there really quick. I think this is so funny, but the first time that I like significantly channeled for someone, I reached out to Maggie afterwards because I had so much energy running through my body. I was like, Maggie, what do? I feel like I could run a marathon. And for 3 days straight, you guys, I ran like 5-7 minute miles. It was insane because when you're channeling, like you have all this like universal source energy running through you. And it was the first time that I was this open channel and I was like, what the hell is wrong? Now I've learned how to work with that and ground myself after sessions.
But the crash is real if you don't ground yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're like, yeah, you're vibing on a whole new level, like, whoa, 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 and then all of a sudden you're like, I got hit by a truck and I can't breathe. I want to get a sticker that says, wait, we're all bad bitches.
It was just my realization. But that's what happened to me after our last Reiki session in Aura Elevation was I held this space and channeled so much energy and I was like buzzing during it. And then afterwards I took like a 10-hour nap straight up. I was so tired. I was like, what's wrong with me? I put like the humidifier to clear out the energy. And I've just learned so much since then. So this is my sign to all of you that I don't care if you think you suck at something, just start because we're all just we learn through it. Like if I didn't start with creating my first meditation, I would have never started my business. In that first meditation that I have on my podcast, I listen back and I'm like, it's not my best, but still to this day, there are people going back and listening to it. So it's like people need the stuff that you create, even if it's not your best. You're going to grow in a year and then in another year, and life, the whole life process. I'm just like going on a tangent now. I don't even know what I'm saying.
No, I love it. But you're like, you're doing your best. It doesn't matter. Life's a process.
No, but like life truly is like people always think about, oh, like I'm going to have to keep doing this healing work and all this stuff. But if we just allow ourselves to live, we do the exact work that we came here to do. You don't have to facilitate anything for yourself. Like, I mean, obviously do, but it's based off inspiration. Like when you're inspired to join a group, when you're inspired to do things, you do it. You don't have to force yourself to be further along or to do something. Like it will happen naturally because you're alive. Like this process of healing, evolving, growing more confidence within yourself and your abilities happens with time. So yeah, I don't really know what that was, but allow yourself to live.
Allow yourself
and
to
heal
live.
as result.
So what's your transformation from the first round of Aura Elevation to the third round? Allow yourself to live and just put yourself out there.
I feel like I'm having
just
heat stroke or something because I
Yeah.
have my heater in here and like I'm getting a little too chill, you know, where it's like I'm like sitting back
But
right now.
Carly,
I'm like,
I'm so proud of you because it's so funny because we have our own different transformations and how we've individually felt going into each round as well. And I'm just so proud of you because it was actually Carly's idea. Like Aura Elevation stemmed from Carly, really. Like it was her, she planted the seed with me and then we all began to water it together and it's now grew into somewhere that none of us actually expected it to grow to. And this is just the beginning as well, which is so exciting. And I'm just proud of you. I'm proud of all of us, but like I'm proud of you, Carly, because yes, you are like younger than us and you have just started to tap into your psychic abilities, into Reiki, into all of these things, and you're fucking amazing at it. Like you are amazing at it. And every time, like it's day one of the challenge inside Aura Elevation round 3, Ground Your Magic, and it's through my Teachable, and all day I have been getting notifications of people being like, this is fucking amazing. Like genuinely paragraphs of people's experience with Carly's intuitively led meditations. And she has just started doing this a year ago. And I think it's just allowing yourself to lean into that. Like just lean into it, even when you're scared, even when the imposter is there, even when the comparison is there, because inevitably you are going to just continue to grow. And even for me, like the first round of Aura Elevation, like I led the Inner Strength and Confidence workshop and I had just shattered to pieces, right, the month before that, like literally broken down. But when you lean into that inner strength within you, that like that part of you, that badass part of you within you, like you just begin to shine brighter and you become more confident, you become like more like powerful within yourself. And like both myself and Carly have said, like we also attract like amazing people into the space that also unconditionally love and accept us. Like they love who we are. They love our authenticity. We love how authentic and intuitive we lead things, but they know that we're also human as well. They know that they are like on our level as well. They feel us on such like deep levels, and it just genuinely does feel like we're bringing these people together, not to be above them or anything, but to lead them from a place of love, from a place of heart, from a place of soul.
Yeah, what I really wanted to say there is like you said the word unconditionally, and Carly said this idea of like you're gonna heal, basically you're gonna grow. I think she said like no matter what. And it's just this idea of like passive growing and passive healing. Like it's a lot of what I do with past life regression, where people are like, now what do I do? Because we're so used to like okay, now you have to do this thing and have this action and create this thing. But it's also things happen passively. Like I say with past life regression, you just allow the energy to like come out and things just heal and fall into place. And it's the same thing when you grow. Like as long as you're moving forwards, at least with a little bit of intention, and as long as you're moving towards something that excites you or fills your heart or, you know, that drives that passion, you are going to grow. Like you are going to grow, even if you're really, really struggling, as long as you stay true to what you want to do and like where you want to be. And even if that doesn't look perfect or look exactly like you thought it was going to be, like you will grow, because passive growing and passive healing, like you literally can't help it. It's just the way things move. So it's like some things may get worse, some things may get better, but you will grow and change as a person. And you're going to be able to look back and be like, you know what? There's this new part of me that I'm really proud of, that I'm really happy about, and that really stands strong in who I am, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm sure that people can even just sit right now and like look back at themselves a year ago, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and look at how much you have grown or how much you've changed within yourself. And you may think like you've not poured that much healing into yourself, but you can still look at how much you have changed and how much you have grown just over time, like passively.
And I do think something that like I want to share is I love that we're talking about like this passive like growing and healing, because that really is the whole process of the human existence. Is like it is such an incredible journey for your spirit and soul, because regardless of what you do, you come and you experience life as a human and you grow on the spiritual level, whether or not you're conscious of your spirit, whether you're spiritually awakened or not. Your energy is constantly shifting and changing and rising. And the more that you tune into that and you connect to your energy and you just ask yourself more often, what would feel good for me to do right now, the more you start to find yourself growing in ways that feel good for you and help you feel better. But yeah, it's not even about like actively like all the time being like, oh, I need to be doing this healing work, I need to be go go go. Like you will inevitably heal, grow, evolve just by being alive. And I think we've said that like 5 times now, but like I don't know how. I want people to know that, because a lot of times, especially if you're following a lot of coaches or healers or like, you know, listening to a lot of podcasts, it feels like you need to always be doing this work where you're always focusing on a new thing to heal and do. But the truth is, like, these things will arise and you'll know when it's time to do the work. Like you were either called to join Aura Elevation or you weren't. Like, and the people that joined it knew it was their time to do that work. But sometimes you're just in a state where you just need to chill and live, and that's enough for you. Like that is you doing the work that you need to do at the time. But yeah, like it's not always about having to actively do more. It's about allowing yourself to just flow with what your intuition is leading you towards, knowing that that's the exact work or that's the exact living that you need to be doing in that moment.
Especially with spirituality, because it's so widespread and there's so much you can learn about it. Like people are like, oh, Maggie, she's our like spiritual, she knows everything. It's like, there's still so much that I don't know about. I could not tell you a lick of anything about human design. You know, like there's so many different things that can interest you. And sometimes, especially when you first get into it, it can feel super, super overwhelming of like, I don't know where to put my energy. I feel like I know nothing. I don't even know where to start. But you naturally grow. Even when I'm not actively trying to learn something new, I was growing. Like I wasn't in a course or I wasn't actually actively learning anything about spirituality after I came out of my past life regression training. But because of my past life regression training, I started naturally just like tapping into these psychic and mediumship abilities. And then that was my natural spiritual growth itself. You know, like it can feel so overwhelming, but you know exactly where you're meant to be. You know, there's crystals, there's astrology, there's spirit guides, there's tarot, there's pendulum work, there's like witchcraft, there's all this stuff. And yes, it can feel so overwhelming and you want to know it all because you're really excited and your soul's like, oh my gosh, this is where I'm meant to be. I'm supposed to be going down this spiritual journey. I want to know it all, but trust that you can take time, you can learn about it, and you don't need to learn it all yet. Just pick one thing or just see as you just like live your life, what pops up and what is a reoccurring theme and what you can start learning about that. Like you aren't not as good at somebody else. Like you can literally not be better than somebody else at spirituality. Like you can just maybe have a little bit more knowledge, but that doesn't mean that you're better. That just means that you have been reading some books. Like it really doesn't matter. It's like one fiction, I've read more fiction books than you. Does that mean I'm a better fiction reader? Like no, it just means that I've read more books. And it's the same thing with spirituality. You're not better because you know more, you just know more.
I feel like spiritual knowledge as well is just something that it's actually more so found within yourself. Like you can read all the books, but it won't like I could read a bunch of books, but it's not until I actually like learn it for myself that I'll read the book and it makes sense to me on a spiritual level. So I feel like the spiritual work and your spirit will like unlock the more that you connect to it. So it's like, yeah, you can spend like years reading books, but not until you start like unlocking it for yourself and just like listening to yourself and what would feel good does your spirit actually start to like share that wisdom with you, because actually everything that you read in a spiritual book you already know, and that's oftentimes why you're reading it and you're like, wait, duh. Because it's like just regurgitating knowledge that you actually hold within you. But the more you spiritually awaken, the more that you start to connect to those downloads and that wisdom just within your being, and it's like your clairvoyance starts to awaken and all these things. So it's just the process of living and trusting that, yeah, this knowledge within you is unfolding. And there was something that I really wanted to say. Oh, yes. Maggie, I like that you mentioned to just kind of like lean into something that feels good, because I think that's exactly what you told me when I was like, oh, like you were like, oh, you've got some clairvoyance, some psychic abilities. Like you can do anything you want with this. And I was like, but how can I do anything I want with this? Like, I don't know why I was just going to talk in a British accent there for a second. So be like, but how could I possibly lean into anything?
You're like, I'm a British child.
I think I had a past life as a British man. I have said that ever since I was a child.
Please try and do a Scottish accent.
No, it's not. Not here, not now.
She hasn't had a past life as a Scottish person.
Not a Scottish person. But what was I going to say? Oh, yes. But I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And then right away, it's like the next day that you told me that, Sophie, I was like, it's Reiki. Like I just knew it. And it's not that I had all of a sudden started reading all these books on Reiki and knew that that was my next step. Maybe it would have come to me in that way. Like that's how the universe would have handed it to me. But I just knew, like I woke up the next morning and I was like, it's this. And then the other, like, I think a couple months later, I was like, oh, I'm really interested in tarot. And then I bought a tarot deck and then I started doing readings for people. So it's kind of this unfolding of just starting to lean into what feels good. And now I'm going to India to get my yoga teacher training. Like, just lean into what feels good. Sophie decided she's like wants to cut out her lease and go somewhere else. That's her spirit leading her to do that. Maggie's like, I don't know where I'm going to go next. We'll see. Like that's her soul being like, let's see.
I've wanted to do astrology for so long. Like it's always been something that's interesting for me. And like I have been really studying it more for the past year. And then, this past few months, I've gotten super serious about it. And I've learned how to like read these charts that literally just look like codes and codes and codes of numbers. And it's been like an unlocking. Like I've learned it so quickly, but that's because I could have pushed myself and tried to do it earlier, but I just kind of like waited until it happened. You know what I mean? I waited until I was like, yeah, this feels really good. I didn't push myself to learn it. I just allowed my soul to be like, let's look at some astrology now.
And I really like the word unlocking, because that's exactly how I kind of see things as well. It's like this unlocking within you, this remembrance within you. Like you already have the gifts, the knowledge like within you. It's already a part of you, and it's like about unlocking it. Like even like the conversations that we have, the things that we do, it's just like this language that's always been a part of us. And even for Maggie, like she used to work in a crystal shop and she used to just know what these crystals were, and she was like, wait, what? Do I actually know it? But it was like an unlocking within our soul, within our being. Like she already held this knowledge. And even with Carly, with her, she channels meditations, and it just comes from this part within her. And like even for me, like I'm beginning to now channel meditations, channel tap-ins, like do all of this intuitive guidance that's already within us, and not feel the need to always be like learning outside of ourselves, looking outside of ourselves of what we think we should do or how we should do it, and actually come in with it within and lead from that place, whether it is as a healer or a leader, or even just as a human. Like, the decisions that you want to make. Do you want to lean into a new project? Do you want to go down a new career path or move a country? It's like you hold the keys, you hold the answers like within you, and it's about coming inwards and looking inwards and unlocking that within you. And I think that's a big part of my transformation the past year. It's like remembering how much I already know and leaning into that and trusting in myself, trusting what I have to give, trusting in my abilities and in my own intuition.
I think that's powerful to recognize that, like, I think our shift over the past year has been becoming more intuitively led leaders instead of
100%.
following the program or following the like methods of how we're supposed to launch or how we're supposed to do things. And becoming more intuitively led has actually allowed us to form a community that feels really authentic versus kind of fake, I guess, which sometimes you see in the coaching spaces. You feel like a lot of places are like, it's just people that are like following kind of a certain way that it's supposed to be. And I think what we've created is very, very intuitively led.
So true. Like sometimes I'm like, how did we do this? Like it feels,
I remember.
It really feels like magic. And I think a big part of that is because we do lead so intuitively.
I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute, you guys. I do this weird finger thing. I don't know why I started doing that when I want to talk. But I had a download when you were talking, Sophie, and I was like, I feel like moving into this year, especially 2024, more and more people will stop looking for spiritual books and things for wisdom, but it is going to be more so about unlocking your own ability to tap into your intuitive guidance. And you're going to be doing much more of your spiritual growth as a result of what's coming from within. Not to say that you don't need support, like, yes, lean into support, therapists, mentors, all of it. But a lot of what's going to be unlocked is going to be less through learning about it from external sources and more so about unlocking it within you. And then the things around you will just allow you to expand that. So I encourage everyone this year to make it a goal to connect more to their intuition, because I have a feeling that your intuition is going to be the loudest source of guidance to your highest timeline in this like new earth energy that we're stepping into.
I think you can get mentors, you can read books, you can do all these things and they can help you find your way, but that's all that they can really do is like hold your hand while you find your way. Like even as a spiritual coach, like I have helped a lot of people find their way, but it's through like finding their way within themselves. Like I sit there and I'm like, I don't have the answers. I can't tell you exactly how to do what I do because your path is not my path and your abilities aren't my abilities. And I can't tell you exactly the formula to follow because even if I say, here's my, manifesting formula, yeah, you can take that and some things might work for you, but you also have to make it your own. Like everything that a book teaches you, everything that a mentor leads you through, you also need to make your own. And I think that's something that's so, so important for you to reflect on in the past year is looking at yourself being like, what have I learned in the past year? And now moving forwards with intentions for this year, how can I start to make it my own?
I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it on up if you guys are good with that. I think this episode took way more twists and turns than we thought, but that's beautiful. It's exactly what we needed to hear. And hopefully you guys were able to gain some insights and do a bit of reflecting. We encourage you after this podcast to take a bit of time in silence if you're like driving or chilling out with yourself, or maybe just grabbing your journal and reflecting on how have I grown and evolved this past year, and what is one way I can pause to celebrate myself today or this week sometime. I know something I've really been wanting to do recently is buy myself a cake and decorate it and like celebrate myself and blow out some candles and just be like, holy shit, you've come so far. Let's take a little pause, because this is your reminder that life moves so fast and you're only with this version of yourself and this version of your business and this version of your family or your relationship for so long. Like within a week's time, it changes. So take it, take these sacred moments to nurture and just honor where you are at, even if it's not where you want to be, because this is the stepping stone that's bringing you to the next phase. And without this, you wouldn't get there. So let's honor it. Let's appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you are not a part of Aura Elevation, this round of Aura Elevation, and you don't want to miss out, or you're like, what is this? I want to be a part of this. We're going to leave the link in the show notes with the wait list, because like I said earlier, we run this twice a year. So we're going to be running it in the kind of spring, summer time, and then we run it at the start of the year in January as well. So if you want to learn more, we're going to leave the link in the show notes. If you are in Aura Elevation right now and you want to make sure that you're on that waitlist for July or August time, the summer version, join the waitlist as well. If you weren't able to join this round, but you know you want to be in the summer edition, please join the waitlist and join the evolution that we're on. Like, this again is just the start of Aura Elevation, of Divine Gossip Girls, and we're just so excited to intuitively allow this evolution, this expansion of this impact and community and challenge and all the experiences that we've got to bring to you guys. But we're so grateful that you are a part of this evolution with us. You are a part of this community with us.
And join us in August for another episode where we reflect again. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll do this after each round. Yeah.
Yes. We'll probably do this, and we'll probably record an episode after this third round is finished as well, because literally as we record this, we're on day 1 of the challenge. And this group of souls that we've attracted into this round are just so fucking amazing. It's just like, we're oh my god, it just feels so magical. And even in the Facebook group, before we wrap up, the Facebook group URL has got 777 in it, and I'm like, confirmation from the universe that this is just
and 577. I wonder, I've been seeing 577 so much. Something I'm gonna have to look into that
I have
one.
my book. We'll look it up.
I feel like it has to do something. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you liked this episode, please give us a rating. 5 stars is very much preferable. And leave us a little review. Share this with someone who you want them to reflect on their past year, their past little while, someone you think might need this. And we'll see you next time around next week for some juicy divine gossip. Bye.
Bye.